Hello, everybody. Thank you all for joining today. We're going to be talking today about how you as accountants and bookkeepers can actually use MTD as an opportunity. I'm aware that a lot of people see it as a bit of a burden. We're hoping to show you how you can use it to generate business for yourselves by advising businesses about their compliance requirements and the steps that to take to make sure they're compliant. So before we delve into the detail, I'll just introduce ourselves to you. I'm Ruth Fouracre. I'm the CEO of ClearBooks, and we provide online accounting software to thousands of small businesses. So obviously we've been working very closely with HMRC to make sure we're completely on top of all their developments around making tax digital and working closely with them to make sure all our customers are fully compliant. I'm a lawyer by background, so I'm very familiar with regulatory change. In fact, I used to be a regulatory lawyer. And I'm delighted that Amanda C. Watts has joined today. And Amanda runs 22 Agency. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Amanda. She's a real marketing guru, marketing and brand consultant, and she successfully advises accountants and bookkeepers on growing their practices by using quick and effective marketing techniques. So let's delve into the agenda. First thing we're going to look at is how MTD advisory services can help you to win clients. We'll look at a few stats there, and then we'll move on to how to become an MTD advisory firm. And as part of becoming an MTD advisory firm, we see there are three elements to this. The first, becoming an MTD expert, and I'll give some detail on the compliance requirements around making tax digital. And then I'll hand over to Amanda, who will talk about becoming omnipresent, and then finally engaging leads in conversation. So you can, once you are an MTD expert, how you really push and market your firm out there to generate the business. So MTD advisory services can help you grow, and these are the stats to prove it. So first, there's a huge knowledge gap. So only 1 in 10 small business owners know a lot about making tax digital. So that's an awful lot of small business owners who don't know a lot, and many of them won't know anything about it at all. And it is at some point going to impact them. So there's a huge volume of potential business out there because they need to be educated on what they need to do to make sure and that they're not receiving HMRC fines. On the experience side, there's only 26% of small businesses or landlords using software for any tax-related tasks. So there's a huge amount of people who, if they continue using only the type of software they're using at the moment, they will not be compliant. So Excel on its own will not be compliant. So if these 26% of businesses aren't using anything other than that, they're going to need to be educated on what else they need to use to make sure. The biggest opportunity is around VAT. That is the first deadline that comes into force in April of next year, and only 34% of businesses use a VAT agent. So that's almost 2/3 of people are filing their VAT returns on their own. So they are going to have to themselves know that they need to be doing it in a different way. And because there has not been a huge amount of publicity from HMRC itself, or indeed at all, around MTD, it's very difficult getting the message through to these businesses. So this is where there's a real opportunity for you as accountants and bookkeepers to go out there and find these businesses and advise them and support them throughout the process. And on the confidence side, there's 7 in 10 SMEs who are uncomfortable with using technology to manage their finances. So once these small businesses have been educated and they know what they need to do, part of that solution will involve using a new type of software. whether it's completely a new type of software or some software that links to their current software, but they're going to need some support in doing that because they aren't comfortable with using new softwares. So that sets out the opportunity. And indeed, we've already seen a regulatory change drive opportunity. And that was GDPR that came into force in May of this year. And in the weeks leading up to that deadline, privacy experts received 12 new business leads each week. So that's a huge opportunity to generate business for themselves on advising on the requirements around GDPR. And indeed, I'm sure that still hasn't stopped. I'm sure they're still getting lots of inquiries. So the opportunity to generate business through MTD will not stop just when the first deadline hits, or indeed when the last deadline hits. So how many leads could you generate each week in the lead up to April 2019 and beyond? So the first step to positioning yourself as an MTD advisory firm is becoming an MTD expert. And this slide just summarizes the basics. So from April 2019, those small businesses with taxable earnings of more than £85,000 will be affected. They will be mandated to comply with the MTD rules. Now, exactly when they will be required to start complying with those rules does depend on their VAT reporting period. And I will come on to a slide which has a very useful table. So it'll set out quite clearly which firms have to do what and by when. But the first deadline is April 2019. And so for those firms who are mandated to comply, what do they need to do? First, they must keep their records digitally. And secondly, they must submit their returns digitally to HMRC. So in this case, this deadline, it's the VAT returns. And I'm going to run through different scenarios as to how you can use software to achieve that. But there's been a lot of question marks around spreadsheets, and you can use spreadsheets to keep records digitally. That is compliant. But what you can't do is submit digitally directly from a spreadsheet. So you would need some other solution. So in of itself, a spreadsheet isn't compliant, but it does satisfy the keeping records digitally requirement. So you have to keep records digitally, you have to submit the returns digitally. And any MTD ready software will meet the HMRC requirements to keep and submit digitally. So there's accounting software out there, and all those accounting software vendors who have changed their lodgement, the technology around how they lodge VAT, they will be compliant and they will be listed on HMRC's website. So the current HMRC portal for VAT returns will no longer work for affected businesses. So you will not be able to go to once your business is mandated, if you try to log in to the current HMRC portal, you will not get through. So you will have to use some kind of software that has that new link to the new HMRC technology. And it's likely that there will be penalties. The current submissions will apply to any businesses who fail to make their VAT lodgement under the new MTD rules. So how can businesses keep and submit records digitally? There are a number of different scenarios. The first is by using one software program. So the most straightforward and seamless way of keeping and submitting records digitally. And this is ultimately where HMRC wants to be. They want to try, their overarching aim is to reduce errors, and this is the most seamless way of doing that. So you would collect and record your data in HMRC recognised MTD software. So that would be recording all your transactions, all the VAT related items, your invoices, your bills. And then within that same software, you would organise the data into the VAT return format. And what will happen in this kind of accounting software that will do this for you is that would be simply by a click of a button. So assuming you've collected and recorded the data correctly, your VAT return would then be correct. You'd see your nine lines, and then at another click of a button, you would submit that VAT return to HMRC via the MTD API. So that's clicking the button and the data goes from your software to HMRC, and then you'll get confirmation back that it has been received. But that isn't the only option. So HMRC have over the years tried to relax things as back from accountants, from end users, as to the difficulties in making such a dramatic change from their current working processes. And so you can use a combination of software. Their requirement under MTD is that if you are going to use more than one software program, there has to be a digital link between those software programs. So in this example, you could have a business continuing to use data, for example, in Excel. So they can collect and record their data in Excel. That is completely valid under MTD. You could then save that data as a CSV file. You can then upload that CSV file into HMRC recognized software, and then once you're back into that software, you will organize it into the VAT return, and then using the submit button, and it will go through the new MTD API. So HMRC, some people might have heard of this soft landing, which HMRC announced earlier this month or towards the end of last month. And that was because their requirement to have a digital link between all these softwares has been relaxed for the first year following MTD's implementation. So the general rule, which will be the rule going forwards, is there must be a digital link. Saving as a CSV is a digital link, and that will be even beyond the soft landing period. But during the soft landing period, you don't need a digital link between these bits of software, with one exception, and that is when you have your 9-line VAT data, when you put that into software, that must be by way of digital link. And I'll come on to that example on my next slide. So these 5 chevrons here, as you can see, there are 5 rather than 3, so it is a little bit more complex, a little bit more prone to error, and a little bit more handling from either your side or from the end user's side. And so, for example, if you made a mistake in your Excel, but you only realized once you were dealing with the data in your in the software, you would have to go back, fix it, then re-download it. But this is a valid form of complying with MTD, both during the soft landing period and afterwards. So scenario 3, again, this is using 2 different forms of software. So you would collect and record your data in Excel or VT, for example. And then the difference between this example and the previous one is that within this initial bit of software, that is where you organize your data into the VAT return format. And at this stage, you have to transfer it into the next bit of software. And here we've described it as a bridging component. And that transfer must be a digital transfer, even during the soft landing period. However, a further caveat from HMRC is that during the soft landing period, what counts as a digital transfer of this data would be copy and paste. So until April 2020, you can copy and paste into a VAT return, into a bridging software, and then at that point you press the button and it will go through into HMRC's MTD APIs. So we've seen 3 examples of how you can make sure you're both keeping your records digitally and then submitting them digitally. We hear quite a few times from accountants and bookkeepers, well, what about when you need to make some sort of special adjustment, for example, a partial VAT exemption? Because one huge advantage of spreadsheets is that they can deal with any sort of scenario, any different permutation, whereas all accounting software will have some limitations on it. And so HMRC have said that if you need to make some sort of special adjustment, that is fine. That is fine to take it out of the software, do your special adjustment, and then bring it back in. So if we go through this example, you would collect and record your data in HMRC recognized MTD software. So for example, an online accounting software package. You would then, in order to do your special adjustment, export that data in CSV, because this is a digital link, and then you could open it up in Excel. You could then, within Excel, do your calculations to make any special adjustments. You would create your adjusted journal, and then you could re-import that into your HMRC recognized software. And then you would create and submit your VAT return to HMRC using the MTD API. So just to recap on these slides, I've just shown you 3 different ways that you can be compliant, and then I guess the important message is that you can also make your special adjustments. I said right at the beginning that the deadline was April 2019, but that I had a useful table which explained exactly how it would use for each of your clients, and this is that table. So you can see that depending on where the VAT period starts, the deadline for entering your records into as a digital format starts, and then the date that you submit your first MTD return will come after that. So you have to look at a business's, it's a business's first digital VAT submission will need to be made for their first VAT period starting on or after the 1st of April 2019. So let's take the middle example. If the VAT period is the 1st of May to the 31st of July, then they'll have to start keeping digital records from the 1st of May 2019, and then the first MTD VAT return will be submitted by the 7th of September. So there will be a bit of an onboarding process for HMRC as people start to, as people fall into the relevant time periods and have to start submitting their records digitally. So it's really important that you keep an eye on those clients that you already have or potential clients who are at that VAT threshold of 85,000, but also those people who are close to that threshold, because as soon as they go over the threshold, the same rule will then apply to them, and they will have to start keeping and submitting their records digitally. So there are different types of digital software that you can use to make sure you're compliant, and I've been through the slides which show you how you can use those to go through, keep your records, submit your records. But within that, there's different types of software. So that first slide where I showed you the 3 chevrons, that could be a fully featured online accounting software system, and you could use that to maintain the records and submit them, and that will have additional features not required by Making Tax Digital. So for example, it's the type of software where you can generate invoices, upload receipts, generate your reports, and that's something that you and the client can both have access to, and depending on how the client works, they might want you to use it more than they do. There might be certain things they want to do, and vice versa. So that kind of fully featured online accounting software, there are various softwares on the market. You'll find a list of those that are MTD compliant on the HMRC's website. And earlier on in the presentation, I had a link to that website, but you could Google it easily. And you'd expect to pay between £8 and £25 for this software. The second type of software that you can get is a hybrid interface accounting software. And again, that would be within the 3 chevron slide. And this is where you might be looking for something a little bit simpler for clients. So they might not want to, they might find using the accounting software just too much of a leap from what they're currently used to. It might seem too sophisticated for them. And so you can get software with a fully featured interface. So you, as the accountant or bookkeeper, you get to see all the data in that rich, fully featured accounting software. So you can create the reports, do all the adjustments that you might need to. But the interface that the client has is an online spreadsheet. So they can continue to enter their client data in a format they're used to. It's just that you will then see it with all the functionality, and then you will have that advantage of being able to do the 3-step, the 3 chevron version of making that MTD compliant VAT return. And for this kind of software, you'd expect to pay between £3 and £5. And then finally, there's the bridging software, and there's limited bridging software on the market at this time. So I couldn't tell you how much it costs, and there has been different views about how effective it will be, but it does seem with the latest HMRC announcement that they do expect there to be some bridging software to enable that once you have your VAT return in your 9 boxes, that you could then do that copy and paste into some sort of bridging software that can then submit to HMRC. I think that is, I said right at the beginning, that is not HMRC's aim, is to have everything all in one place to reduce errors. So I think in the long term, they do not want this bridging software in place, but that what they want to do is understand that this is a big change for people, and so to help people move from the legacy systems, they're putting this in that the bridging element in place to allow people to get used to the change. So I've added here again that link to the HMRC recognised suppliers. So I'll now hand over to Amanda. So once you become a VAT expert, how you then market and position your firm.
Fantastic. Thank you ever so much. I actually have a quick question for you, sweetheart. Bill has asked, is it £8 to £25 a month, or is this per annum or a one-off? I think that they're wondering whether or not this is going to be a monthly reoccurrence, or whether it's going to be like one payment and you're sorted. Are you able to answer that question?
This is, yes, it will be per month.
It will be per month. That's what I thought, but I wasn't going to guess. It's not my expertise, which is fab. Super. So, guys, if you have any more questions, go on.
Sorry, I'm just trying to hand back to you, and I'm on the change presenter, and I'm afraid I'm not able to find you. I can hand it to one of the attendees. Oh, here you are. Rather than hand it to one of the attendees, I'll hand it to you, Amanda.
Okay, fab. Thank you. Super. So
you have that?
I do have it, and hopefully people can see my screen okay. Is that working? Let's just have a look. There we go. That's working properly, isn't it? Thank you very much for your patience, everybody, while we sort out technology. It's fun, isn't it? We're telling you that you have to make everything digital, and now we're having to transfer everything over, and we're doing okay. We're doing it reasonably smoothly. Thank you ever so much, Ruth, for that. That was really interesting as an end user. So you guys know I'm not an accountant, and my experience. I failed my accountancy exams. My dad's a tax technician, and was like, right, Amanda, if you failed your accounting exams, you need to do something business-minded. But from an outsider's point of view, who is going to have to be MTD compliant and is going to need lots of support, it was very interesting, and I don't envy you guys. You've got a lot of work to do over the next year in getting yourselves all set up. So having listened to Ruth and her expertise, please make sure that you reach out to her as an expert and get this sorted, because I think that we're all going to be panicking when our accountant says to us in April of next year, you need to be compliant and do this, and we're just not going to know what's going on. So the smoother you guys are at doing it, the more comfortable as your clients we're going to be. So that's absolutely super. And we've also got a section at the end which is for Q&As. So please ask questions. What I'm going to be sharing about marketing, but what Ruth has gone through as I'm sharing about marketing, I'm sure you have lots of questions for Ruth and for myself. So please make sure that you put them in the chat box, and we'll dedicate 5-10 minutes at the end to making sure we answer those questions. And maybe some of the questions you want to ask around being MTD compliant is with your clients in mind. So I'm sure I'm going to have loads of questions. What questions am I going to have? And they're the kind of things that you need to learn about, and that fits really nicely with how to position yourself as a Making Tax Digital firm and win new clients. Because where I'm coming from with this is from from your client, and the kind of things I'm going to need to hear from you to make me feel confident that you can support me over your competitors. So what I'm going to be covering in my section of the webinar is pretty much, say, for example, you've gone, right, okay, we're going to position ourselves as a Making Tax Digital firm, and we now need to know how to maximize that so we get a really good reputation out there and build trust with people. So the problem that you've got at the moment, there's 3 major problems. One is, as an accounting firm, you all look the same. So if you're an accountant or a bookkeeper, I look you up in the yellow pages, not that we have one anymore, but I Google accountant in my local geographical area, and I have no way of choosing which accountant to go with. Unless you have come through on recommendation and I've done my research and not looked at anybody else, you are going to be trying to have a piece of the pie, same as all of your competitors. So we need to understand that you all look the same, and we need to differentiate you, which is why Ruth is set up this webinar, so you can see the power of positioning yourself as a Making Tax Digital firm. The second thing is that you're not valued, and this bit breaks my heart actually, because my dad's a tax man, and I see how much time he spends on learning his accountancy profession. I spent such a long time trying to pass my accounting exams, and I just couldn't get it. My brain didn't work. And I think the fact that you guys are so great at what you do, yet you're not very good at promoting yourselves. 1 out of every 1,000 accounting firms, I would say, are any good at promoting yourselves and doing marketing, which means that you are still commoditized and you're still seen as functional. And actually what we want you to do is be seen as a vital asset to every business or someone who wants to increase their personal wealth. And by being seen as a vital asset, you're valued. And one of the wonderful things about positioning yourself as a Making Tax Digital firm is you will be vital, because us mere mortals don't quite understand it. We don't get it, and our brains don't work the same way that yours do, which puts you in a really nice position, because rather than being not valued and not being seen as vital, you have just under a year before HMRC kicks in, but you have just under a year to really maximize this amazing opportunity. So at the moment, you're not necessarily vital and valued, but positioning yourself as a Making Tax Digital firm will help you. And then finally, and I love this one, I was presenting on Saturday. I run a training program, and I had 50 new startups in the room, and what I was saying to them is we really need to make sure that we are attracting the right clients, because at the moment what I find with accounting firms is you're attracting the wrong clients most of the time. And what I mean by that is you're attracting vampire clients, and they're the ones that suck the life out of you. They're the ones that drain you. They're the ones that when you get their email, you just hold your head in your hands and go, oh, I don't want to open this email, what's it going to be about? And maybe they're the ones that that they call through and you're like, no, 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 tell them I'm in a meeting, tell them I'm in a meeting. And we don't want to work with vampire clients. So what you can do is position yourself in the marketplace so that you only attract what I call radiator clients. And the radiator clients are the ones that radiate warmth, and they're the ones that you are happy to give up a little bit of time to help them and support them, and you're happy to speak to them, and you'll always take their calls. And if you get an email, you know it's not going to suck the life out of you. It's probably going to be something good, or they're going to be returning something on time. So what we need to do is position you so that you attract the high value clients that truly appreciate you, your radiator clients. So how do we do that? How do we position you so that you can actually grow your practice, you can transition into a Making Tax Digital firm and have a great reputation for that, and therefore build trust? Now, some of you online will not want to grow your accounting firm. Some of you are just wanting to become MTD compliant and be able to offer this service and be able to do it smoothly. Totally understand that. But the problem that we're going to have if you don't have that growth mindset is that you will always have client churn, and we need to position you so that we can make sure that at least you stay where you are. Others of you are going to be very, very excited about the opportunities that all of these changes in the world are happening, and you're going to want to grow your practice. So I'm going to be sharing with you how you can do that, or I can share with you, or I'm sharing with you how to make sure that even if you have client churn, that you aren't going down. Now, like my dad did, he is now 70 next year, and when all of this was coming in, he went, that's it, I'm done. I am not going to become MTD compliant. I am not going to be working anymore. I'm handing all my clients over. And very successfully, or unsuccessfully, because he still has a few clients left that won't let him go because he's provided great service, but very successfully now he has passed on his clients because he's done. I am assuming by you being on this webinar that you're not done, and that you know that you have to be MTD compliant. So let's run through the 3 steps. The 3 steps, first of all, is on the left hand side. We have to get super clear on how we're going to position you so that you are seen as the go-to accounting practice, whether it's being positioning yourself as an MTD firm, as the primary sell, or maybe it is you're going to be positioning yourself in a certain way, and MTD is just a given that that's what you do. So we need to get super clear on how you want to position yourself in the marketplace. Then I'm going to show you how to get known, what you need to do to go out there and have the success that you want, and finally, how to get clients. And that will ensure that you have the revenue you want, the profit that you want, and also the time. So when I share how to get clients, the one thing that we do is look at how to get them without having those horrible 2-hour-long lengthy meetings, which is very exhausting. So the first thing we're going to look at is getting clear. Now, what differentiates you from other accounting or bookkeeping firms? Right now, I would be surprised if there is anything that differentiates you. And unfortunately, many of you think that you are all different, okay? So what we need to do is differentiate you so that you are seen as let's use the image in front, the big shiny apple. You know, if you saw, you go into Tesco's and you see all these apples on the side, and you know they're all a little bit green, you've got the nice shiny red apple at the top, you're like, hey, I want that apple, that looks better, that looks far more enjoyable, that looks juicy. We need to position you as the juicy apple. So what do we do to do that? Well, this is where most people go, oh, I don't want to niche, this is too much, there is no way I can niche my practice. And I want to say to you, I'm not asking you to niche your practice, okay? First of all, let's get that out of the way. I am not someone that says the only way to have success is to niche your accounting or bookkeeping practice. The solution is in niching, but you niche your marketing. And when I talk about niching your marketing, I'm talking about hunting niche, okay? So I call it a hunting niche, and what it means is people might land on your website and it looks like a generalist, but if they dive deeper, it becomes actually a niche practice that you're running. So what we need to do is look at why it's imperative, and I mean imperative, it's no should you or shouldn't you, you should definitely be niching your practice. If you don't have a niche and you try and do marketing, you're just going to be throwing mud. And we all know that there is so much noise online. We know on LinkedIn that when we go onto LinkedIn, actually we're getting slightly turned off. Everybody is competing to be heard, and they're trying all these little tricks online, and you know they're putting updates up, hoping to get interaction and get comments. People are spending a fortune on learning how to cut through the noise. And the problem is if you haven't got this bit right, it doesn't matter how much money you spend on learning to do marketing, it's going to be hard work. So if you're competing with everyone, you're attracting the wrong clients, you're throwing mud and some of it will stick, it won't work if you're what I call a generalist, okay? But if you do have a niche and you understand your ideal client's 3 dominant problems. So at the beginning, when I started speaking to you, I outlined 3 problems that you're going through at the moment. You all have these problems. And because I understand them and I know what you're going through, when I do my marketing, it cuts through. I can speak and I can be heard. And this is what we want to happen to you. You actually want to cut through the noise without having to do that gimmicky, because gimmicky marketing is expensive, it's really difficult to learn and can be very exhausting. Okay, so what we want to do is have a niche so that you are attracting those high value clients and you can stand out. Now, being an MTD firm and positioning yourself as one will enable you to stand out and gives you something to talk around with your marketing. Alternatively, you can have no niche and you're just not going to stand out and you're going to be a generalist and you're not really going to attract anyone. When it comes to sales, we also have a problem, because if you don't have a niche and you get someone on a phone call, or maybe you decide that you're going to have someone come in for a meeting and 90 minutes later, what you've done is you've had to bring your personality. You've had to really show up and have a really strong personality. You are having to sell your services very, very hard because there's nothing to differentiate you, and you're not getting referrals because you're a generalist, and because you're a generalist you haven't got an expertise, which means that you're not doing an amazing job, which means you're getting less referrals than other people. So that's another reason why you need to be having this hunting niche. Remember, niche your marketing, not niche your practice. Then the other thing, when you do have a niche, what happens is, especially with the positioning yourself as an MTD firm, is you can have a specific methodology that you work with your ideal clients with. So you can have, we have a 6-step process that enables you to be completely MTD compliant, and we're going to support you. And the first thing that we do is have a meeting. The second thing that we do is look through your accounts. The third thing that we do is use this app to make sure that we don't lose anything in the process. The fourth thing that we do is we upload it to HMRC for you. And you have this 6-step methodology, and that isn't necessarily the way it works, by the way. This is your expertise, not mine. But when you have a methodology, people love to buy in it. So by having a framework, people believe that you are the expert because you have this methodology. And what happens is, when people believe that you're the expert, they then come to you. Because you have the methodology, you get great results. And by having these great results, what happens is you get more referrals, because other people who have the same problem that your ideal clients have are referred to you. And one of the best ways to get referrals is to ask for them. So if you want an action from today to get massive return on spending this hour with us, make sure that you send an email to all of your best clients and say, I've loved working with you, we've got these results, please can you give me a referral? I would really appreciate it. This is my ideal client. Okay, so send that out. Doing that, you'll get some more clients off today's webinar, which will be a great ROI for you. Okay, so this is why you need to niche. You need to be able to have really great results for people, and you can't do that if you're not working with the same kind of people on the same kind of thing. So what makes you different? You need to be sharing that online. So how do we work it out? Well, you can be a generalist, which is lots of services to everybody. So as an accounting firm, if you can do the basic stuff and you do it for everyone, the problem is you are driven down on price, differentiate you. Then we have what we call a horizontal niche. And a horizontal niche is where we look at a specific message, service, or product, and Making Tax Digital and positioning yourself as a tax digital firm will enable you to grow your practice because you have a specific message. Then we go higher up. So the higher up this niching matrix, the higher up you, the more value that you'll provide. So say, for example, you're a Making Tax Digital firm, but you actually decide that you want to help a certain kind of industry. then you are right at the top. You've got a specific audience and a specific service where you excel. That's where the value goes up. And remember where I said at the beginning, where you're not vital and you're not valued? Well, what happens is you'll become more vital and more valued the higher up the matrix we go. So what happens when you position yourself and have this hunting niche is you're immediately seen as the authority. And when you're seen as the authority, people will turn to you for help. So whether or not you decide to position yourself as a personal brand and, position your marketing around you, or you have someone in your firm that you position your marketing around, or you have your firm as the authority, you will find that you will attract better clients and they are happy to pay you. You have less fight over the how much is it going to cost, or can I have a discount? We don't want to go down that line. Okay, once we have positioned you in the marketplace and you're super clear on who it is you help, your message, so that will be you've positioned yourself as a Making Tax Digital firm. And then once we've decided how you're going to show up online, so we have the hunting niche, you have your website where you are looking like a generalist, but underneath you have the hunting niche. Now, if you're looking for an example of an amazing firm, I'm sure you've heard of them, who has this hunting niche, is the Wow Company. And the Wow Company, if you have a look at the footer, you can see that they specialize in helping agencies. So all of their marketing goes out to agencies. If you join their list, it's all about, are you an agency and do you want to grow? But when you land on their website, it's a completely different thing. The first thing that you see is, if you're a small business, let us help you. Okay, so one of the great things about having this hunting niche is it takes away that fear for you that you're going to miss out. It also means that when you have a hunting niche, you can be a local accountant and be seen as the generalist, but have that niche where you can do your marketing. Okay, so once you've got the positioning right, so you've got super clear on who you help and how you help them, you then have to get known. How are we going to get you clients? What is it that we need to do so that people see you as the go-to Making Tax Digital accounting firm? Well, you are who Google says you are. So your job as you do your marketing and you have your hunting niche is to make sure that you show up in Google. How do we do this? Well, there's a few ways that you do it. One of the ways that I would suggest is making sure that your website is a website that you can upload information to and you can edit yourself. Because how I have managed to, when you type in my name, Amanda C. Watts, how this has happened is I've made sure that all of my pictures have my name on it on the website. Okay, I make sure that when I do guest posting and I do podcasts and I'm seen on YouTube, that I have my name on all of it. Because what happens is when someone buys from you, they actually go through a certain customer journey. I'm going to share that with you in a moment. And one of the first things that they're going to do is Google you as the accountant and Google your accounting name, so your firm's name. Alex Falcon Huerta, I think that's how you say her surname, she Googles really well. She is who Google says she is. She's a phenomenal force to be reckoned with that has only been around for a couple of years, and she has grown her practice by positioning herself as a digital accountant. So she has a lot of pictures out there where we can see her personality. She has a lot of pictures out there where she's been featured on podcasts and on the news and is often speaking on stage. She has aligned herself with certain apps that her clients are going to use, and she promotes herself in that way. So when you Google her name, she pretty much takes up the whole of Google. And what is fantastic about this is people feel safe and secure if they Google you, and lots of great stuff comes up for it. So one thing that I want you to do after you've sent the "can I have a referral" email, the second thing I want you to do is Google your name and Google your accounting name and see what comes up. Okay, so one of my clients, Anne Spickett, actually Googles really well. So I typed her name into Google, and this is what came up. So LinkedIn is really important. So if you're questioning the value of LinkedIn, then you need to be using it. It comes up higher than anything in Google. So you need to have a nice picture, and you need to have a nice description, and you need to be using your LinkedIn regularly. Okay, you can see here she's got her website come up. Then she's got company check. Then she belongs to BNI. So that comes up. Then at the bottom, underneath images, you can see that she has got a post on Facebook where she's talking about being very excited about passing her ITAX exam. Okay, so all of these things come up. What comes up for you? Now, the worst thing that can happen is that nothing comes up for you. So if I type your name into Google and you're not there, what are we going to do? So your aim between now and when MTD goes live is, one, decide if you want to position yourself as an MTD firm, which I highly recommend. If the answer is yes, you do, then you need to go out there with a hunting niche and start marketing well. And you need to make sure the way that you're going to test if your marketing is working, one, the number of hits to your website. So please make sure you have a good website. Two, the number of inquiries that you're going to get. But three, how well do you Google? What is your zero moment of truth? And back in 2011, Google wrote a report that was all about the zero moment of truth. So when someone types in your name, what comes up? Is there a way for people to land on Google, go to your social media and spend time getting to know, like and trust you? And if there is no way for people to do that, then you're not going to be known and you have to stand out. So as I said at the beginning, position yourself really well, then make sure you're super visible. So where could you hang out? What are the things that you can do so that you can get known? Well, the key thing is getting leads. What I find most of you do is either belong to BNI or For Networking, and you're all spending a lot of time in the same kind of networking groups. And what's happening is you're limiting your opportunities. They are just a small percentage of the people that are desperate to be working with you, and you're relying on other people to recommend you and refer you. Okay, so what we need to do is actually think about speaking opportunities. How does someone become an expert? How do they get seen as an expert? Well, they're seen on a stage or they're doing webinars like this. Okay, then what we need to do is, once someone has decided that they are interested in your services, they're not necessarily ready to buy. So we need to make sure we stay in touch with them. How do we stay in touch with these opportunities? One is making sure you're using social media. You can send newsletters. You can send autoresponders so that when someone downloads a free gift, they automatically get emails. Or you can pick up the phone. So I know that Jeff is on the line today. And you know what? A couple of days ago, I just picked up the phone and touched base with him. But none of you do this, okay? It's really important that you are out there purposefully staying front of mind with people, okay? Another great thing is joint venture partners. So Clearbooks and I are working together today. This is classed as a joint venture partner. I'm sharing my expertise with Ruth's people, and Ruth is sharing her expertise with my people, and it's a win-win for everybody. It's a win for us. It's a win for you guys because you're hearing about new things. It's amazing how you can leverage that. Now, if you are one of these people who love BNI and For Networking, there are going to be people in there, in your groups, that will want to do something together. So just think about how you can team up with someone else who's got your ideal clients, okay? Other things that you can do is make sure that you're doing associations. So things like the Chamber of Commerce. Maybe once you've chosen your hunting niche, there are going to be associations that your hunting niche belongs to. Very easy for me as accountants. You belong to a lot of associations, so I work with a lot of associations. And the other thing that you can do is make sure that you're using video. Now, right now, you're probably going to switch off. You're probably going to go, I don't want to hear about video. There's two camps. One is that you are going to do it, and you're going to close your eyes and jump. And the other is, I'm never. What we really need you to understand is that video is becoming the new Google. So YouTube is the second most searched engine. So people type into YouTube before they type into Google sometimes, okay? I always do my research in YouTube. I don't do it in Google anymore because Google is just full of stuff. Whereas on YouTube, I can type something in, someone will come up, and I will be able to listen and learn for them very, very easily. So you need to be doing videos. And the great thing about videos, you upload it to LinkedIn and it gets far greater reach than doing all of these I don't know what to call them. They're contrived updates. So, you know, there are people out there who are teaching how to write updates on LinkedIn to get interaction. Actually, the number one thing that you can do is create amazing videos, sharing great content, and not worrying about being contrived. I don't like contrived marketing. I like authentic marketing. And videos is a great way to be authentic because you can't hide anywhere because you're actually on the camera. And the other thing that you can do is the training videos. So as an accounting firm, especially with Making Tax Digital coming, why can't you create a couple of training videos and share them with people? And what that will do is position you as the expert, which is what we're looking at doing here today. So this is a really important thing that I want you to understand. 70% of the sale happens before a prospect even speaks with you. Okay, I'm just going to say that again. 70% of a sale happens before a prospect even speaks with you. So before they reach out to the firm, okay, before they reach out to you, they will have done so much research that they're pretty much decided whether or not they want to work with you. When they have a conversation with you, it's a maybe I do, maybe I don't. I need to speak with that person just to finalize that little bit of trust. Most people will know you and like you enough before they come into a meeting with you because they will have Googled you. And if you're not on Google and you're not there, then you're not going to have been able to close the deal in the meeting because you're having to build that know, like, and trust factor before they come to the in the meeting and not do it beforehand. So there's something that I created called the traffic light method. And the traffic light method outlines the kind of education content you need to be sharing with your audience to position you as a Making Tax Digital expert or whatever niche you decide to position yourself as. Okay, so first of all, when someone is in pain, they are stuck at why. Why am I in pain? Why isn't this working? So when you position yourself as an MTD expert, as Ruth was explaining, what we can do is interrupt what they're doing. So we disrupt their day on LinkedIn with a really nice video or a really nice report and illuminate the pains that they're going to go through. So the 10 mistakes you're going to make this year with your Making Tax Digital returns, for example, your MTD returns, or why not knowing about MTD is going to scupper the growth of your business, something like that. And when someone is scrolling through LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or anything like that, they're going to go, oh, gosh, what's this? I don't know about this. And they're going to have a look at what it is. And because you have disrupted and illuminated their pain, you've really understood the pain that they're going through, you then can start to educate them how to overcome that pain. So first of all, they're at red and they go to amber. And what we do when they're really stuck is we educate, we share insights, and we show them how to overcome their pain. And we can show them how to actually find a solution to those problems. Now, what happens when they start doing that research is they start to believe that they can do it on their own. And this is absolutely fine. Everyone goes through it. So it's a bit like we've got to take the skirting boards off our my daughter's bedroom, and I don't know how to do it. I'm going to YouTube how to do it. At the end of the YouTube video, I'm going to go, I can do this. And then I'm going to realize, actually, in reality, I can't do this. I'm going to get an expert in. Okay, so this is the journey everyone goes through, and I'm sharing that with you because it's front of mind for me, because that's what our plans are for this weekend. So same thing will happen to the people who are aware that they need to be MTD compliant. They're aware that something's going on. They're going to try and overcome it themselves, and then they're going to realize that they need an accountant. And that's why you're vital and valued. And that's why you can start to charge a little bit more for your services. You're not going to be seen as commoditized. You're not going to drive your prices down. Okay, so once someone's learned how to overcome the problem, they then go, actually, I can't do this myself. Who can help me? And that's where you need to make sure that you've got a brochure, you're super clear on your positioning in the marketplace, you've got proof of what you do, which is your methodology and a couple of case studies, and you will get the client. So 70% of the sale happens before they speak with you, and then that final 30% is actually either in a meeting or could be over a telephone call, and it takes 15 minutes. That's it. It doesn't have to take 90 minutes or more, which some of them do. I know I have been and seen accountants before. So how do people buy? This is really important to understand because nothing's going to happen overnight. So when I talk about growing your accounting firm, you want clients now and you want leads now. Well, I can get you lots of leads, but only 3% of those leads are going to buy now. All right, because at any time, only 3% of a group of people are in pain right now and they're looking to overcome that pain. All right, 7% are going to be looking to overcome their pain in the next 90 days. So that's why you have to market to these people. Otherwise, if you just put out one piece of marketing, you might get the 3% low-hanging fruit, but you're missing out on a massive 97% chunk, okay? So 7% will be looking to overcome their pains in the next 90 days. 40% will be looking to overcome their pains within the next 2 to 3 years. Okay, and it's very, very important. I know when I was looking for an accountant, it took me, when I was first starting, it took me about 6 months to decide on my accountant. I didn't even know how I was going to choose an accounting firm, and actually it happened by fluke. And it was because I went to their events. It was the WOW company. I went to their events, and all of a sudden I realized that I knew the WOW company. I liked the WOW company and I trusted the WOW company. So when I bought them, it took a 5-minute phone call and there was no sales to be had. I'd already built that relationship with them. And that is because they understood that I wasn't in the 3% and I was in the 40%. Now, what's this 50% at the bottom? Well, 50% of people will never ever buy from you. So all your marketing that you're doing online, people are going to go around and they're going to say, I can't actually buy from you, Mr. Accountant, because just like for me, my dad's a tax man, or my brother does my accounts, or I've been with my accountant for 20 years, he's the family accountant, I can't change accountants. But as a niche firm, if you position yourself really well, what will happen is people will recommend you and refer you. So they will understand that as a Making Tax Digital firm, if someone wants a firm that specializes and has promoted themselves as an MTD firm, then they're going to say, oh, yes, well, you can't use my accountant because they only work with plumbers. But if you go to this MTD firm, they're specialized and really be able to help you. You're just going over the VAT threshold and they're going to be able to support you with that. So I recommend that you go to MAD accountants, for example, MAD accountants, okay? Just as an idea. So that's why people need to carry on being marketed to. You've got 3% who are going to buy now, 7% in the next 90 days, 40% who will buy in the next couple of years, and 50% will never buy from you, but they will recommend and refer you. So you need to continue that conversation, and to do so, you do it through videos, you do it through Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, direct mail, email, and speaking. Okay, that's how you get super clear and then you get known. What happens is when you're doing all of these things, you become what I call omnipresent. So everywhere someone turns, you are there. And I know, having grown my business over the past 2 years, I wasn't working with accountants a couple of years ago. It was when my dad turned around to me and said, Amanda, the profession really needs your help. Can you go out there and help them? And I was like, okay, I'll have a look. Worked with a couple of accountants and it worked wonders, got great results, absolutely loved you guys. So I went, okay, I'm going to put all of my eggs in one basket. So I went out with a hunting niche, put all of my eggs in one basket, and now I have a niche. And don't necessarily work with other people. But what happens is everywhere you turn, I will be there. I'm speaking at Accountex, I'm on Google, I'm on your LinkedIn, I'll be in your Facebook, you're here on the webinar, I do joint ventures with all of your suppliers. So you need to understand that you can do that as well, just like I have done. And you can do it in about 90 minutes a day. Okay, you can do it in less than that if you get somebody to help you. I love marketing, so I do a lot of my own marketing, but you can leverage your marketing if you get someone to help you. And you too can be omnipresent and attract your ideal client. So you've been really visible, okay? You've got super clear on your positioning. How are you going to get clients so you don't spend too much time in one-on-one meetings, so you're not wasting all of your time? Well, you need to have conversions. And conversions come from conversations. And there's only 3 ways that you're ever going to be able to onboard a new client, okay? One is through a webinar. So you could have a webinar and at the back of that you could say, join our accounting practice, sign up here. doesn't really work with accountants. I've trialed it, and what I have found that most of the time they still need to have a conversation. So webinars are one way, great for building the know, like, trust and 70%, but you still need to have a conversation. The second is through events. Now, events are great because you can sign people up at events. I'm going to share that with you in a moment. And the third one is literally through one-on-one conversations. One of the reasons why you have to do marketing is to get the time that you spend in conversations down. We know you're super busy. It's going to be a really mad time between October and February for you. And if you have to sit in 2-hour-long meetings, you're going to resent the prospect in front of you. So how do we overcome that? Well, we need to convert one to many. And the best way to convert one to many is through having events. And why do events work so well? It's because you are seen as the authority. And when you're seen as the expert and the authority, people ask you questions when you're on the stage, which gives you the opportunity to show your expertise even more. But B, anyone who's on a stage, you believe that they are the one who knows more than you. Okay. Now, the best thing about events is you build trust. And this is an example of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And Maslow's hierarchy of needs really is amazing because events tick off every single section. Okay. If you hold an event, you are providing food and people feel safe with that. If you hold an event, you are providing an area they feel very, very safe. If you hold an event, they're part of a group, so they feel that they belong. If you hold an event, they are working towards independence and they're working with other people, and it's really good for their self-esteem. And also, if you're holding an event, you're educating them, so people are working on their personal development. It ticks off every single level, which means that you build maximum trust, which therefore means that when it comes to buying from you, people want to buy from you because they see that you're the expert. The Wow company, as I was talking about, do this exceptionally well. They have events coming out of their ears and they are all for their hunting niche, okay? So when they hold their events, it's around agencies. So you've got a bench press event that was in March. They had 300 people come to that event. Okay, they have online training which they sell on top of their accounting. So can you imagine if you had online training and people were paying you £600 a month to learn how to grow their niche business, and you created that content once and sold it to every single one of your clients or people who weren't your clients but could become your clients? How much more profit would that add to your bottom line? You know what you're doing, turn it into a course. Okay, the Wow company cover that really, really well. So by having events and running events, what happens is you get a flood of leads, not a trickle of leads. And the great thing about having a flood of leads is you can weed out the tire kickers and you can weed out those vampire clients that you don't want to work with. So everything we've been covering today is how to be the go-to making tax digital firm. Okay, so what do you have to do? First of all, you have to get super clear. You need to stand out and be seen as an MTD authority. Secondly, you need to get known. So you need to be everywhere your clients are and stay front of mind. And thirdly, you need to get clients, which means you need to have a flood of leads, pre-sold, which means that they've done 70% of the journey, and be seen as vital and valuable. And when you're clear, when you're known, and when you get clients, you will have a successful Making Tax Digital firm and be seen as vital and valued. And then we're over to questions. So thank you very much for listening to me. That was a whiz through. Oh, it's paused. Hold on a second. I'm not sure how that worked. Hold on. Can you still see our screen and hear us? And Ruth, are you there, sweetheart? Can you
yes,
unmute yourself? Brilliant. Absolutely super. So it would be great to know if there are any questions around MTD to start with. I know that we had Bill ask about the pricing. Are there any questions about MTD? And Ruth, have you got anything that you want to say that you didn't say in the first half of the webinar?
No, I did spot another question from Bill, which was around taxable earnings. So I'd said before that there was a threshold for the first group of people who are going to be mandated are those who have taxable earnings over £1,000, and he just wanted to clarify what taxable earnings was, and asked if it was VAT-able sales. And yes, it is the total value of everything you sell that is not exempt from VAT. So it's probably just worth me clarifying that for everyone's benefit.
Okay, brilliant. We've had another question here as well, Ruth. Were you going to present ClearBooks Micro? So
ClearBooks Micro is our. I wasn't going to present it in this webinar, but absolutely I can. If anyone wants a presentation of that, we can arrange a demo. But do you remember when I went through the different slides, and I talked about the different types of products? You can have the ClearBooks Micro is that simple interface for the client, so they can input their data in a format that is familiar to them. So ClearBooks Micro looks like a spreadsheet, but it is an online MTD compliant software, and it links to our kind of fully featured software. So you as the accountant or bookkeeper would see that fully featured software, and you would be able to see the data that they've inputted into their simple software. You would be able to then prepare the VAT return and submit it. And so that would be that's kind of like that more holistic way of doing your VAT return that will be MTD compliant. But if everyone wants to actually see that in demo, I will absolutely follow up and get someone to take you through that.
Brilliant. So Blaine Sturgis, I think, definitely does, because it's something he's looking, or she, sorry, is looking at in their firm. So that would be super.
Right.
Do we have questions for either Ruth or myself? And if you don't have any questions, what would be really great is if you could just write in the chat box what's one thing that you've got from today's webinar. So the reason why I'd like you to do that, one is because it's really good for Ruth and mine's ego, and we all love to have our egos massaged. But the second thing is, so many people become webinar addicts, and they love to come along and they love to watch a webinar for an hour, and they think that they've learned something, but they never do anything with it. So it'd be great for you to write down one thing that you've got from the webinar, so that you can then make sure that you either implement it or you do something about it. So please do let us know, and we will call some of those out. So that would be absolutely super. Ruth, do you have anything else that you want to say?
No, nothing from me. Just thank you to everyone for joining, and thank you for your insights as well, Amanda, which I also found incredibly useful. Thank you.
Brilliant. You're very, very welcome. So Jeff has said, hunting niche, be ready for start of next calendar year. Yeah, definitely. We've got inspiration from you both. Thank you. So much better than someone who openly flood their stuff. Cheers, Roy. You're very, very welcome, Roy. I need to learn how to use Facebook to make businesses aware of our firm, which is new. Now, who said that? Bill. We actually have some social media training, so hopefully you've got that. If you haven't, please make sure that you reach out for that. Also, if you'd like to book a call, that's absolutely great. Check myself out on Google. Yes, please do, Elsa. Samantha says, methodology for hunting, niche and marketing. That's great. I'm excited about creating a niche and marketing effectively. Hunting niche, love the big red apple pick. What makes you stand out? Absolutely. So making Catch Digital will really help you stand out if that's how you want to decide to position yourself. And having spent some time with ClearBooks and getting to know them, I know that they will be able to hold your hand and support you with that very much. Thank you, Ruth, for the opportunity to do this with you. It's been great, and thoroughly enjoyed it. And I'm sure we'll be doing something else again very shortly, won't we, Ruth?
Absolutely.
That's great. Lovely. Thanks, guys. And thank you for the feedback. That's great. And please make sure that if you have any questions or you want to find out more about ClearBooks and how they can help you, to book a call with them. What's the best way for them to do that, Ruth?
I mean, I don't know if it, we'll have our contacts will have had an email from me, but so I mean, we can follow up. We'll do a follow up after this anyway, so that you have our contact details, and yeah, you can kind of choose to engage with us or not, depending on what your interest is. But yeah, we will follow up with you guys.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. We'll catch up with you all soon.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.